get 2 referrals for every 1 closing transaction, your business is growing exponentially. And I was on purpose about making that happen. So in the 1980s, I started building a real estate team when people didn't have real estate teams. And I was at Realty Executives, and they didn't know what to do with an assistant. And so they had to create a thing for assistants. And then I had a property manager, and they didn't know what to do with a property manager. And so in the 1980s, things started shifting as our business started to grow. How many of you have read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book? Okay, so Bill is one of the role models in that book. I was part of the group that put the book together, and Bill was one of the role models in there. And so what wound up happening, for me anyway, was that the more that I focused on my people and making sure that the relationship, as Bill was just talking about, was strong. My other mentor was Tom Hopkins.
Champions Unlimited.
Yeah, Champions Unlimited. And I had to get rid of Tom because Tom's deal was you get paid in direct proportion to the amount of rejection you can eat. And I remember him saying that over and over. And then he said, you want to get motivated, Steve? Go out and buy a new suit and put it on so you have to pay for it, and you'll get motivated to go get a deal. So anyway, the mentors teach you how to think. The mentors point you in the right direction for how to think. And Bill's exactly right. The coach will hold you accountable to whatever your strategy is. So if it's social media, or if it's door knocking, or if it's working, because I ran for office in Gilbert, and I served on the Gilbert Town Council for 6 years. And my specialty was properties on acreage with horse privileges. That's what I chose to specialize in. And interestingly, running for office, I wound up alienating half of my clients. Politics, even back then, half the people agree and half of the people disagree. But it's about building that relationship with people. And the mentor is the person that teaches you how to think right. And I'm going to say something that may be controversial, but I think our industry teaches us to think wrong. I think our industry treats us as if we have a job in sales rather than business people in real estate. And so when I started focus on being a business person in the business of real estate instead of a salesperson in real estate, because as a salesperson, I maxed out. I couldn't work more than 24/7. I burned out in the business. But as a business person in real estate, thinking differently, it changed my career.
So I was looking up to these guys. Looking up to Paul, Bill, God almighty, I wasn't even in the picture. I'm not even in the picture, not even close. And I'm going to all the awards banquets, and they're winning first, second, third. I don't know where but you were right in there and had a lot of the awards banquets, right? It was just, I just could not see myself in any way how I could ever do anything like that. And yet, I think I can tie to something that what you said. People ended up finding in an indirect way, I think I'm the luckiest guy in the world, but in an indirect way, they found out how much I cared about them through my relationships that I had outside of real estate, which were church, which were school. I was involved in coaching. I was involved in everything, all of this other stuff. I happen to be a real estate agent. And through some of my connections with people watching me you don't know they're watching you. But Dale Hillard calls me up one day and says, hey, I've got a job at a new home builder. And I know you from church, and you look like you're, blah, blah, blah. So Dale Hillard, you all know Dale Hillard. He's, I don't know how many years was the broker at West USA. He got me a job as a new home salesperson after about 3 or 4 years in resale. And I did okay in resale, 20, 30, 40 transactions a year maybe. But I got into new home sales, and my tie with my dad in new home construction, I grew up building homes, an engineering degree, on and on. The new home sales clicked for me. And I moved right up. My next person who saw that I cared, believe it or not, Cindy Flowers. Cindy Flowers was a new home manager for Merrill Lynch back in '83. She said, Craig, I've been watching you. And I've got some reports and blah, blah, blah. We would like to have you over at our new home subdivision. So I come over to another new home subdivision. And it was Pecan Grove Estates down in Gilbert. There a year. Now this is just luck. I'm just lucky, in the right place at the right time. But because of, I'm generally someone, I work hard, just like all these guys, I work hard, but I really dive right in. Dive right in. And people can tell that I really care. I get really excited about stuff. So I was there a year, and Cindy decides to leave. Cindy has Sierra Building Corporation. They were doing 300, 400, 500 transactions a year as a new home builder. And Cindy says, you know who I think should take over for me? Craig Peck would be the perfect person. Sure, I'll do that. So I ended up taking over Cindy's business in new home sales. So I'm kind of telling you that you just don't know what's happening, but I was all in. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. I really loved what I was doing. I was very excited about what I was doing. And through that whole process, through getting educated, through showing people through the classes I was in, they could tell Craig really cares about this. From that, I got 5 other builders. I'm like all of a sudden cranking, and all of a sudden I'm doing number-wise what these guys are doing now. But guess what? SEVRAR or MCT didn't recognize.
Right.
They didn't want new home builders to be a part of this process because it's not fair. They're doing 300, 400, 500, 600 transactions a year, blah, blah, blah. We can't do that. That's not fair. It's not the same thing. And it really isn't the same thing. But I can't remember when it was, all of a sudden they did start having a separate award for new home sales and stuff like that, and I got a few of those, number one in new home, blah, 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 in the 80s and 90s, something like that. And I've seen these guys there many, many times. But I guess my education, constantly changing, constantly moving, never giving up, most of it is really a really positive, exciting times. There have been 3 or 4 really tough, really hard times. Those are the times that you really have, you really question. Is this what I want to do? Is this what I want to continue to do? They've all, I'm sure. Or how am I going to change my business or my model to fit and change? And I've been through it the same way. But for me, I'd say luck, but create your own luck. I'm the luckiest person in the world, but why am I lucky? So the why is people can tell how much I care. So.
You know what, let me grab this while we're passing it down to Paul. What I just heard you say was that your professionalism and your reputation with other real estate people in the industry created opportunity for you. And unfortunately,
He's way better at it than me.
we are so separated by technology at this point in time that unless you're on, well, let me say it this way, positively. When you have a professional reputation with other people that are professionals in the industry, it will open up opportunities for you.
Repeat the question, Paul.
Is there anything left,
I
Paul?
know what the question was. It's longevity. What do you attribute? I used to work for a guy, and he said there are 2 types of people in the world. There are givers and takers. There are people that give ulcers and get ulcers, and I'm a giver. To what do you owe your longevity? If you want an acronym, because I knew this panel was coming, I have the word CELL, C-E-L-L. And to me, what it means is, it means a commitment. You have to be committed to this business. E, education. My first year in the real estate business, I got my GRI. Within a few years, I had the CRS. I've looked at these guys up here. I think they all have the CRS. I've looked at Craig's card, and he's probably the only guy that has more designations than I do. So education is very, very important. The other L's in there are listings. When I got into the real estate business, my trainer taught me to focus on listings. And if you know Russell Shaw, you know Russell Shaw's story, he will tell you that for years, he was just doing very few deals. He was taking buyers around to the houses, and then he focused on listings. He would still work with buyers, but he focused on listings. In Keller Williams' book, they have a triangle that says listings, leads, and leverage. And that's the fourth L. C, commitment, E, education, L, listings, and leverage. That says that if you have too many buyers, you have to get someone to help you with the buyers. Russell has a team, Bill has a team. You don't have to go out on listing appointments if you don't want, but you have to leverage yourself. You cannot be doing paperwork. You have to go from paperwork to people work and just leverage yourself. And the other point that I want to make relevant to what Steve said, because this is it probably took me a while for this to come on. Anybody play the game of Monopoly? Right? If you think of Monopoly, Monopoly's like real estate. In Monopoly, you don't want to go to jail, right? And you don't want to go bankrupt. In real estate, you don't want to lose your real estate license, and you don't want to run out of money. In Monopoly, you want to take the money that you initially get in the game, and every time you go by go, you pick up $200. You win the game of Monopoly by buying those little green houses and those little red motels, and that creates what Steve said and what his books are about, which is passive income. I have a little card up here. If you want one later, you can take one, but it's a saying by Warren Buffett, and it says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll be working until the day you die. So, and final thing I'll say is there's a guy here, and he's in our office, and about a year ago, he said, when I'm in the business, as long as you guys, I don't want to be working as hard as I am right now. I said to him, how many rentals do you own? He said, none. I said, that's your challenge. Because when you get to be 40 years in the real estate business, I know people that, as my mom, God rest her soul, said, they don't have a pot to piss in, right? And you do not want to get to be an older realtor and not have the assets. So you have to learn to save some of the money, GCI that you make. You have to invest that wisely, and that'll create passive income, and that's how to win the game of real estate.
You should be the first buyer for every listing you take.
Say that again? I didn't know what you said.
You should be the first buyer for every listing you take. That should be your mindset. How can I buy this one? How can I buy this one? How can I buy this one? Just follow
I love it. I love hearing, and this is just me, you all will get to talk in a few minutes, but these award ceremonies, we don't have them anymore. But it's amazing that that was so impactful in your careers. It's really interesting because you guys get together as the top producers in one room and exchange ideas. And I really enjoyed that. We had our 40 under 40 look last night here, and these newer agents in the industry are amazing in what they do. They not only top produce, but they give back to the community. They start their own nonprofits. They do stuff I couldn't do. It's amazing, but that is impactful. And Paul's daughter is our chair of our YPN, and she created and planned the entire event last night, and it was amazing. So just tangenting, but it's really interesting to hear that. So I'm not going to go negative here, but the question is, what would you do differently if you could go back and start over? I'm going to start with Steve.
Honestly, I'm just going to continue on Paul's theme. I would have bought more properties and kept them. I bought properties and I bought some of my listings, and I was creative. I used my commissions for down payments, and then when the real estate market went up, I cashed in. And I got money instead of property, instead of assets, and the purpose of money is to buy assets. And so what I would do different is I would not have sold those. Let me say one more thing about what Paul said, because he's talking about that passive income in Warren Buffett's statement. And I just want to key back. Robert Kiyosaki, when he wrote the book Cash Flow Quadrant, most people know him for Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His most powerful book is Cash Flow Quadrant. And if you haven't read that book, you should read it multiple times. But he said there's only 3 places that you create wealth, and one is in owning real estate. The other one is in owning a business, which is why I say our inventory focuses on sales instead of growing a business. And then the third one is buying stock in somebody else's business. Those are the 3 places to build wealth. Well, what do we sell? One of them, we sell real estate. Number 2 is, what do you have? You have a potential business if you're good in the sales. And that's where Paul was talking about leverage, because the first person you bring in is an assistant to help you be more effective what you're doing. And then you bring in a showing agent to help you so you don't have to show properties anymore. And then if the showing agent is good, they become the buyer's agent. There is a progression that you go through to turn your sales practice into a business. And my dad was a dentist, and this is why it's so important to me. And I was talking to him about this because I had him buying properties out here, and he said to me, I said, Dad, why didn't you do this before? And he said, I'm a dentist. I don't know anything about business. I know how to be a dentist. And I have a picture of his office building, because he bought the office building for his dental practice. And when he sold his dental practice, he had said, I actually made more money selling the building than I did selling my practice. So, number 1 thing I do different is I would acquire more, and I would have kept the property that I thought, oh wow, I'm gonna cash in. That was stupid.
Amen to that. But when you go through some of those tough times, I had to sell 5 of my properties in 2007, 8, 9, actually 2006, 7, 8, and 9. So, and they got me through. They kept my family alive and well. I didn't have to file bankruptcy. I didn't have any short sales. I didn't have any of that. But, so probably what I would have done different, because I still have properties, I would have bought more, would have been disciplined more to purchase more properties. The property is not only income, but it is a bank that's growing exponentially. So you can keep these properties that are feeding you on a monthly basis, but you can also sell them and make 50, 100,000, 150,000, whatever.
If you have a positive cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely. Only if you're not upside down in the property. Yeah. So, but the easiest thing I would refer to you guys, or let you guys know about, is I would have kept a better CRM. We didn't have CRMs, okay? But what I have learned, because we're constantly learning, in the last 10 years, I have developed and built my CRM, and it's becoming a cash flow. So my contact with my existing relationships now that I didn't do very well making a very good contact with 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. I mean, how many have we dealt with from 30 and 40 years ago? Very few, but a few. I mean, I've got people that I'm selling the grandkids.
Yes.
So I haven't done any great-grandkids yet, but grandkids. But if I'd have done a better job of that one thing, I would be wealthy now. I've only got about 10 or 12 years of a CRM that's really building, that's really developing, and that's really turning. So, and that's something all of us can do very easily. Have a better CRM, follow up with it better, follow up with both notes and calls and parties.
I will tell you that my career in this business has not been all peaches and cream. Everybody looks at us today and says, gosh, I want to be like Bill when I grow up, or I want to be like Paul when I grow up. I will tell you that I've come this close to bankruptcy. I've been on top of the mountain, I've been at the bottom of the valley. And the one thing I probably would have done differently that might have balanced that out a little bit is because I became, during my career, in different times, unfocused on what I did in my life. I'm a residential real estate guy. Well, what did I do? I thought I was going to be a land baron. I thought I was going to be a commercial office builder. I thought I was going to be this, I was going to be that. And then, of course, when the RTC, I don't know if any of you remember the RTC back in the 80s and early 90s. Let me tell you what, that was a spanking. I mean, I felt like I was hung from the tallest pillar, but I always went back. I never gave up my business in residential, always kept it in place. Probably I think the biggest thing is when I really focused on what I was best at, I always did well. And since we're so good at what we do, and as Steve and everyone here has said, you know, we talk about investments. Well, none of us are getting to be any younger. And I have a young person in my office, 30s, 40s. They came to me and I said, how you doing? And they joined the company. And this person started at 18 years old investing. And it's a young lady. And she now has a few properties, you know, great cash flow. She's in the real estate business. She's very successful. She's treating it like a business. And if there's anything I learned over all the years, it took me probably half my career to figure out, I really need to treat this business like a business. You need to incorporate. You need to put all your money in the corporation, pay yourself a salary, pay all your expenses out of it, trickle it down in an S-corp, down to your personal. There's all sorts of strategies. And everybody, as Steve and I think Paul, everyone here has said, this is not just a sales business. That's not what we do. It's a people business, and it's a business that you're going to sell a product. Heck, you could sell widgets for all that matter. Whatever you're selling, whatever you're doing, you put those dollars in and put them to work for you. And there's a million ways. I started not a committee, but a mastermind in my office about 2 months ago. And it was financial planning. And it's really garnered a lot of traction. And telling people, there's what we invest in what we know best. That's residential real estate or whatever kind of real estate. There's other forms of investments, as Steve mentioned, and those are just as important, but you've got to have a relationship with somebody that knows what you're doing there that you can trust. And so I think, the number one thing that I feel the strongest about is that, and I really preach this, when I took over the RE/MAX office a few years ago, I went around the office and I said, well, do you have a corporation? No, I don't have a corporation. I just pass everything through here and put it on my personal return and write it all off. I said, look, you've got to set this up as a business. I don't care if it's an LLC, a PLLC, a sub-S, whatever you have, you need to set it up as a business and do it now. And that will give you the opportunity to not only save you in taxes and keep you organized, but give you a plan and a goal of what you try to reach for each year. It's not about the money. Absolutely, it took me several years to figure that out, but as I've gone forward in life, I found that once I reached this pinnacle and I was making very good money, and I won't discuss that part, but I thought one day, this is 30 years in the business, I need to hire a coach. And so I'm at the RE/MAX convention and they're telling me, oh yeah, we can help you. I said, I bet you can, but I said, I don't think you can. I said, how many homes did you sell last year? I said, I sold 360 houses last year. The guy goes, oh, well, maybe we'll let you talk to the owner of the company. I said, that's not my goal. I said, I want to talk to somebody who will take my life and balance it significantly more with family, investments. Now the income part's important. The freedoms that you want to balance. What do you want to do with your life? And having a balanced life is, to me today, I make a third of what I made at the top of my career. My life is 10 times more balanced and more fun and more of everything that I could imagine. Because there's family, I got 6 grandkids, I got 3 kids, I got a wife, a dog. I'm number 9 on the list, but as being loved in the family, but the dog comes before me even. But that's okay, because it's such a legacy, and it's like I tell everybody, you work as hard as you want to work, do what you want to do, but I've never seen an armored car follow a hearse to the graveyard. So if you want to just keep cranking, just to be cranking and not have a quality of life, I travel significant weeks a year. I have several companies. I've got great people that work for me. I delegate. I've got good managers and staff, many of who are here now in this room. I am blessed to the hilt with everything that that coach that helped me get that balance years ago. Actually, he was also a prudential owner of a company in California, but he was a great guy. But that's about all I'm going to say for now.
Bill is way too humble. If you were to go into his office today, tomorrow, he has these little Legos that are solid gold. And most of the day, you peek in there, he's building these little shapes with these solid gold Legos. Seriously, right across from our office, that vacant lot, he has polo ponies. I've seen him playing polo over there. I would love to have the time and the money that Bill has. Just amazing. Do you guys have any polo ponies? That's amazing. Just amazing the money this guy has. He lends Warren Buffett money. It's just amazing. If you want to write something down, I just heard this the other day, I thought I liked it. Write down a negative sign, a positive sign, and an equal sign. A negative sign says that you should have someone in real estate, in your office, that's below you, someone that you can help. In the audience here is Dina Greenwald. Dina is the incoming pres of SEVRAR. Say hi, Dina.
Hi, Dina.
Dina just hired a gal who is about to get a real estate license. She wants to get in real estate, so Dina is helping that gal. So that's the negative. The equal sign is get in a group of like-minded people, and you could call it a mastermind group. I've been in a mastermind group with these guys. I've been in a mastermind group probably since Russell Shaw started mastermind groups way the heck back in the 80s. Get in a mastermind group. And the positive is, and these guys have talked about it, have a mentor. If you want to pay a coach, you can pay a coach, but have a mentor, somebody that is doing substantially more deals than you are, that you can go to and run ideas by. Russell Shaw gets together with Dean Selvey, and Dean has more money than he knows what to do with.
More than Bill?
More than Bill. Actually, it's close. It's very, very close. There's a story. Who knows who Brett Tanner is? Right? Brett does a lot of deals. One point in time, Brett was like nobody in the real estate business, and he asked Russell Shaw to go to lunch. And he said, Russell, I just want to pick your brain. I'm going to buy you lunch. And Brett had the courage to go up to Russell, invite him to lunch, pick his brain, and Brett Tanner's career took off on the shoulders of what Russell Shaw told him. So don't be afraid to get a mentor, to help someone else, and to get in a brainstorming group. I heard somebody just say today that you make a living by what you make, but you make a life by what you contribute.
Hey, Paul, can I have that a minute? I just want to share something about Paul, because I'm in a mastermind group with him. And one of the things he said earlier on was there's givers and there's takers, and Paul's a giver. And so he posted something up on the Facebook page that we're in that, quite frankly, has changed my life for this year and my focus for this year. And no, it wasn't that one. But it was a saying, and I can't remember. Well, here's the saying. If you want to write something down, we do not rise to the level of our goals. We do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. We do not rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And so, quite frankly, because he's a giver, I'm looking at it, and in each one of my businesses, I am looking at every single system that we have in place and saying, how is that system creating more business for us? So, thank you for doing that, Paul, appreciate that.
And that's also different. Tell them who the book is.
Yeah, Atomic Habits or something.
How many people have read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear? Atomic Habits by James Clear. You got to read the book. If you don't like to read, you can get the YouTube little synopsis of the book. Absolutely amazing. And it all talks about habits, the habits that you form. There's another gal in here. Her name begins with a V. She's sitting right next to Dina. And she came to me recently and she said, how would you like to just review my goals? And because I want to do more deals, make more money, I said to her, Veronica, what time do you prospect? And she said, well, you know, what kind of varies. I said, no. I want to know what time you prospect, and I don't care anything else. That's all I want to know. What time do you prospect? Because I'm a morning person. If I don't get the important stuff done in the morning, I don't get it done. But I will tell you, I am crazy about forming habits. Because once you form a habit, that habit will change your life. Every day for the past 40 years, I have spent time prospecting, right? The same time every day. I am crazy. I will tell you one thing about me that you know I'm crazy. For the past 10 years, I have had the same thing for lunch. Every day. Seriously. Crazy. But, okay, so it's a Jack in the Box, Southwest grilled salad. I love those things. But the point is, what habits do you have? Because if you don't have some good habits, you are going nowhere.
I do like that salad.
Yeah. Your habits, they can be anything. You go to church every Sunday, right? But in the real estate business, you got to prospect. In the real estate business, there's only two things that appreciates. You appreciate, and your client base, your relationships appreciate. Everything else depreciates. So you have to focus time, like Veronica's doing, on prospecting, leveraging the people that know, like, and trust Veronica. You have to pour money in education and don't count on your broker. You have to take the classes. Today I'm going to sign up for a property management class here, and Sue Fluky is teaching the property management boot camp next Friday. I've got rentals, I know property management, but it's a great way to just continually keep up. Today I signed up for a rebar camp. They haven't had a rebar camp in like 10 years. But education, I'll just tell you one thing. I went to a CRS class celebration that they had in Phoenix, I want to say 1985. And there was a guy there that talked about telemarketers. And he had, Tony DiCello, a telemarketer that was making calls for him and making some substantial dough. And I said, well, if he can do that, I can do that. So I hired a telemarketer in 1985 who probably worked for me for the better part of 30 years, and she generated leads. There's the leverage part. And there were years where she generated me $250 GCI, and her salary was about $25,000 a year, right? What's the big picture there? prospecting every day. If you don't do it yourself, and you should, you better have somebody else that's prospecting for you. Because this whole business, as Bill said, comes down to how many people are you talking to every day, the same time.
And if you're using Facebook as the substitute, guess what? Facebook's planning on getting into the business and doing it for you.
Paul's a member of Toastmasters also, I just want you to know that. The enthusiasm.
It's also on professional development.
Okay, it's not every day that you get these 4 men in the room to ask questions to. I have other questions, but I want to ask any of you, if you have something that you would like to ask the panel, this is your time. I'm sure there's something. Besides what Paul eats for lunch.
What do they think of those new entities like Open Door?
What?
They want to know what you think about the business model. Does anyone want to?
For what? Open door?
Instead of using the name, but.
Yeah.
Don't use name.
First thing I want to do is I want to say hi to Betty Patterson, because Betty Patterson has been around for 40 years. When I was way back when at Century 21,
Longer than that.
and I'm challenging Betty right now to put in the application, help her, to get her Realtor Emeritus, because you've got to put it in by April, Betty. And remember when we were back at Century 21 and I was getting those Centurion Awards, and I said, Betty, you better get that Centurion Award. That's the kind of person that I am. What's the question anyway? What is yeah. I don't care, personally, I don't care about iBuyers. What's that?
I wear it around my neck.
Oh, thank you. I don't care about iBuyers, I don't care about short sales, I don't care about anything. Because if you are focusing on your business and you have goals, and there'll be people that come and go. Way back when they had SaveCom, they had discount, real estate companies. Help you sell, whatever you want to call them. There'll always be people shopping at Nordstrom's like Bill, and there'll always be people shopping at Steinmart like me.
I've known Betty since I got in the business, and I think we got in around the same time, and I hope this doesn't embarrass you, Betty, but she tells me, we're saying, we're all giving our ages here, and Betty goes, hell with you, I'm 79 years old, I got 8 deals in escrow, and I haven't quit yet, and I'm not going to. There's an icon.
Yeah.
That's success. Yeah, Veronica.
I've talked to a number of you already, but I'm going to throw this out. I know all of you are talking about the relationships, and that's my business, but I'm curious what your percentage breakdown is in terms of past clients, repeat referrals versus new business. Like where are you getting your business from? And the second part would be, does it matter what you do for your clients? So the kinds of activities to keep those relationships going besides calling them, talking to them, like I went to class the other day, do a housewarming party or doing this or that. Does that matter? And has it mattered? So those are my 2 parts.
Since you're in my office and I've already told you the answer, I'm just going to give it very quickly. 95% of my business in my team, and I don't compete against any of my agents in my company. We're totally a separate company completely, but it's 95% of my business is past client referrals, sphere of influence, period. 95%. The other 5% amounts to whatever it is. That's it. People don't get that. And I'm telling you, that's what we talked about with the database and the CRM and staying on top of these people. I've got clients, they called me 2 months ago. I sold him a house in 1977. He said, I'm not going anywhere else, Bill. I said, thank God. And the guy's in his 80s. He's lived in the house all these years. I said, you know how much you cost me over the years? He goes, what do you mean? I said, hell, you've been living in the same house for 35 years. I said, most of my clients buy 7 or 8 times. But I'm going to let somebody else answer that too.
We're not letting Craig get in on this conversation. So here's what I want you to write down. Trust is transferable. Trust is transferable. So I'm probably between 95 and 100% of mine is through my sphere of influence and out of my database at this point. But it depends on how you're wanting to grow and build your business. The reason I said trust is transferable is because if you have that housewarming party for the client that you just worked with, and in that housewarming party, it's strategic about them saying, this is why I love Veronica, this is what Veronica did for me. The trust that they have in you just gets transferred to the others. And that's where the exponential growth happens. So it's still relationships with people, building those relationships. And then the CRM has to help you maintain those relationships. The CRM doesn't do it for you. Facebook doesn't do it for you. It just reminds you of when to be in touch with somebody. So when Paul talks about prospecting, for me, my database just says, Steve, it's time to call Veronica. Steve, it's time to call Bill. Steve, it's time to go. So, and that's my take.
Yeah, so I'm a small fry. I did close to 30 transactions last year. I was involved at SEVRAR, pretty involved there, but out of 30 transactions, it's 65% referral. I am more of a lister, and I'd say the other 35% is from calls off of my listings. So, and I'm not sure what they're doing. They must have a terrible job of following up on the calls on the listings, only have a 5%.
Unfortunately, our listings don't stay on the market for a
See, when you have it a long time, your experience comes through, you know exactly how to answer that.
The signs come down so fast.
I'd say about 65, 35% for me. My goal is to have higher to these guys, because I'm just like you guys, I'm learning from these guys.
Bill will mentor you.
Yeah, for the right price. On the iBuyer one, I would say, again, they're investors. And investors are in the business to make money for themselves. They're not trying to, the commercials sure make it sound like they're trying to help the client. They are solving a client's perceived problem, but we need to do a better job of understanding what the client's perceived problems are relative to easy transaction, easy move, more take away some of the unknowns. Because you hear the commercials, they sound amazing on the commercials, these iBuyers, they sound amazing. They sound like, well, I want to list my house with them. Why would I want to list with Bill or Paul? Because it sounds amazing, but they don't realize they're giving up 20% out of their pocket, 15, 20% or more in some cases. So if we can do a better job of just in our listing presentations attacking that, so understanding their model, and just giving people other choices. Their model is a great model. And, you know, some of us could use it right in here. When Steve is saying every listing you go to, you should be looking at, how do I buy this? He's looking at it as in a model as an investor possibly buying this home. So there's a couple different models, different hats we put on at different times. Investor hat, me trying to help you sell and maximize the money in your pocket, me trying to buy the home from you and maximizing the money in my pocket. So we all have different hats that we put on at different times. So that the iBuyer is just a different hat. They're kind of a sneaky kind of investor.
I want to say something about iBuyers. iBuyers are here to stay. Make it part of your strategy. Make it part of your business model. The iBuyers buy wholesale, and you can give your client the opportunity to sell their house wholesale or retail. Make it part of your business strategy.
I got a question for you guys. Who wants to give me one reason property does not sell other than price? Other than price,
Oh.
give me a reason. Come on, don't be chicken. Give me a reason. Condition. Okay? So the one point that I want to make after doing this a long time is there's only one reason a house doesn't sell. It's always price. Because you can clean up the house improve the condition, or you can drop the price. Some people, I'm surprised nobody said the location. It sucks. It backs up to the nuclear power plant in Palo Verde. It backs up to Baseline Road. Well, you know what? You can move the house or move the price. Somebody's gonna say, well, I already lowered the price 3 times. Well, that's not enough. I'm just gonna tell you one story about the strangest house I ever had. It was on the market in Maricopa, a pyramid house on 13 acres. You think I'm kidding you? Tell me later. I'll give you the address. Started at $1.7 million. The lady bought the house, husband passed away, she met somebody else, wants to move to Scottsdale. Started with agent number 1, $1.7 million. I got involved as the 8th agent. I priced it. Are you ready for this? $295,000. It took 6 agents to figure out not a lot of people want a pyramid house. Right? The lady says, I said, would you like to carry financing on this? She goes, no. I need the money. I'm in my late 60s. I'm not going to be around that long. You know what? Couldn't get a lender to do a deal on that house because it was such a weird shape. She wound up carrying financing. $1.7 million. Now listed at $295. Right? Don't want to carry financing. Had to carry financing just to move that property. Oh, it doesn't take you 40 years to figure out price. Don't you dare leave this room unless you have that in your head. Just save yourself a lot of time. You're going to have sellers grinding on you, and you do not take that stuff. Right? It's price. Right, Veronica?
Yes.
Does he know his stuff?
So I'm in Paul's office and Bill's my dad. So Paul's